escalated to groping me, tracking me places.
From planting evidence to stealing and killing innocent civilians.
How many times he basically tripped over himself just to arrest this lady with no real probable cause.
Today we will see that not all the boys in blue are on the good side of the law.
You become the mope that you wrote about in your book.
As they face the consequences of their selfish crimes.
Disclaimer.
In the Seminole County Court in Sanford, Florida, where Lisette Gonzalez, 46, will have a one-day trial. Officer Wagner accused her of driving while intoxicated, and the jury returned a guilty verdict. Gonzalez's lawyer pleads with the judge one last time. He notes that although the arresting officer stated that his defendant tested over the legal limit, she was not given a breathalyzer reading or had her blood collected.
But you did not know what her blood or breath alcohol was at all, did you?
That's correct.
The lawyer asked the judge to reverse the jury's decision and free the defendant, a request that is uncommon in court. The judge then turns to face the prosecutor and a heated exchange ensues.
Wait a minute.
Only thing that we're willing
Did you
to
hear
do,
the
Your Honor.
uncontroverted testimony of this officer?
Your Honor,
Yeah.
regardless of...
Tell me your position.
Yes, Your Honor. The DMV is in charge of suspending licenses.
Yeah,
They
when
receive the ticket
officers
from the
lie to them,
Correct, Your Honor, and that's why patrons...
then I want you taking him
Your
up on
Honor,
perjury.
Your Honor.
Will you take him up for
He
perjury?
admitted it was a mistake, Your Honor.
No, but he lied. He lied on a sworn
Absolutely not,
citation.
Your Honor, and that is not true.
I'm
The
dismissing.
state's position.
I'm dismissing.
You cannot summarily dismiss,
I
Your
am
Honor, without a motion
dismissing
for us to be
this
able to
charge.
respond to.
No, I'm dismissing the charge.
In an odd turn of events, the defendant receives a JOA from the court and the charge is dismissed. He's not done yet though.
Now
The
that I
state would like to be heard on
now
that
that I
matter.
consider what Officer Wagner testified to and how many times he basically tripped over himself unnecessarily just to arrest this lady with no real probable cause. Motion, the JOA is granted.
Your Honor, I believe it would be judgment notwithstanding a verdict.
Judgment notwithstanding.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Lisette Gonzalez, the defendant, leaves the courthouse without being charged in any way. After that, we travel to Waverly, Ohio to the Pike County Courthouse to see Charlie Reeder's trial. A number of felonies, including 2 counts of office theft and evidence tampering, have been brought against the former Pike County Sheriff. In 2019, he faced accusations that he was using the proceeds from narcotics busts to finance his ongoing addiction to gambling. It was supposedly estimated to be in the vicinity of $5,000. Reeder said in court that he took the money from the drug investigations and utilized it to support the community in a pathetic attempt to save face. He made a passionate appeal to the judge not to send him to prison just before his sentencing, tears welling up in his eyes.
Your Honor, please do not send me to prison. I still have a lot of good left in me. And thank you for your time.
Following the lengthy, tearful statement, the judge just had one question to ask.
And the denominations did not match what was taken at the crime scene or from those individuals. I guess, why did you take the money?
Reeder will not be permitted to hold any public office in Ohio as part of his plea. But he will only serve 3 years in prison because the counts would run consecutively. We are back in Florida, this time at the Palm Beach County Courthouse, where police officer Nouman Raja has been found guilty on 2 counts. Attempted first-degree murder with a handgun. Nouman K. Raja was taken into custody in connection with the fatal shooting of a black man whose car had broken down on a highway and was waiting for assistance. As one in a string of black males killed by law enforcement, 31-year-old Corey Jones was a musician and housing inspector whose death garnered significant public attention. The beloved's family and friends Corey Jones spoke out against the recent cruelty his folks had been subjected to and shared loving comments about him.
This should have never happened. My uncle should still be with us alive. We are supposed to be protected by the police. not shot by the police.
Prosecutors proved that on August 18, 2015, at approximately 3:15 a.m., Mr. Raja was on duty in ordinary clothes and approached a car he claimed he believed to be abandoned on the side. He spoke briefly with Mr. Jones, the man he discovered inside the car, and who was in need of roadside assistance. Mr. Jones was carrying a firearm that he had obtained legally. Although prosecutors believe that Mr. Raja fired rounds even as Mr. Jones ran away, Mr. Raja stated that Mr. Jones had pointed it at him. Mr. Raja killed Mr. Jones by striking him 3 times with 6 shots in a matter of moments after approaching. Raja was subsequently given simultaneous sentences. This is Michael Dotro, a former police officer from Edison who has a history of planning nefarious revenge schemes against other law enforcement officials who have wronged him while on service. He was ultimately taken into custody after setting his supervisor's house on fire. He was scheduled to be charged with attempted murder, aggravated arson, official misconduct, conspiring to interfere with a witness, and conspiring to retaliate. Michael Dotro was charged with attempted murder and arson. When the fire broke out at 4 a.m., his boss, his wife, their 2 kids, and their 92-year-old mother were all at home. Thankfully, none of them were hurt, despite the fact that the house sustained significant damage. Dotro did not say a word during the almost 1-hour trial, even while the judge expressed some of his opinions.
Because of what this individual has done, because of him and people like him, victims are afraid to come forward to be part of the criminal justice system and get the relief that they're entitled to from being victimized.
Michael Dotro has waged a number of court battles in recent years, aside from the attempted murder and arson. Dotro was charged in the official misconduct case with examining police files and telling his wife about tire-slashing news about a lady he was allegedly seeing. Dotro also entered a guilty plea to a conspiracy charge, acknowledging that he had planned to get revenge on a North Brunswick police officer who had issued a citation for intoxicated driving to a different person. 5 years for conspiring to tamper with a witness and 18 months for retaliation conspiracy were imposed upon Dotro. The prison terms will all run consecutively. Welcome to the Miami-Dade courthouse, where Lester Bohan, 51, has been found guilty of assaulting and forcefully hitting a male nurse. He was accused of 1 crime of false confinement and 1 count of violence of an individual 65 years of age or older. The officer's mentally ill niece was released from the hospital, and that's when the two got into a fight, according to the arrest record. The following day, her father brought her back, but the physicians decided she didn't fit the requirements for readmission and instructed the father to make an appointment for a follow-up. Lester Bohnenblust, his brother in the force, was summoned in by the father. When Bohnenblust arrived to the hospital, the nurse told them he couldn't talk about the patient's business in a room where other patients were being treated. The cop then took the nurse by the jacket and threw her to the ground. In the footage, Bohnenblust is seen grasping Nicholson from the back of his jacket, according to police records. The nurse then pulls back and tells him, "Get your hands off me." After this incident, he was released from the force after 20 years of service.
Count 1, battery on a person 65 years of age or older, and guilty on 1 count of false imprisonment.
James Nicholson, a 66-year-old nurse, had the following to say about the horrible experience.
I was never ever expected to be grabbed from the back and thrown from side to side, to a point where I was yelling at the top of my lungs, "Help! Help!" What happened to me that day should not happen to anybody, especially a healthcare worker.
Upon receiving his punishment on Friday, Miami-Dade County Judge Marissa Tinkler Mendez brought tears to the eyes of Bohnenblust's family. In addition to serving 3 years of probation upon his release and doing 100 hours of community service, welcome to Ravenna, Ohio, where David Oliver, the former chief of police for Brimfield Township, is facing 4 misdemeanor charges: simple assault, unlawful restraint, attempted theft, and unauthorized use of property. The police chief, who gained a tiny following on Facebook for his frank and amusing remarks about criminals he refers to as mopes, received a dose of karma when the judge overseeing his sentencing labeled him a mope as well.
You've become the mope that you wrote about in your book.
David Oliver displayed noticeable restraint during his plea of not guilty to charges pertaining to attempted office theft and sexual assault against Christine Casterline, a female cop who had accused him of harassing her.
To you that Crystal punched me as much as I punched her.
David Oliver's subordinate, Crystal Casterline, told the judge that she was harassed by him and insisted that the plea deal was insufficient punishment.
I was a marathon runner. I loved life. I snuggled my little girls constantly, and I was naive. I never understood domestic violence, how it gets that.
When Oliver heard some of the other things Casterline had mentioned, he got clearly angry.
Hugs escalated to groping, me, trapping me places, and forcing me into positions where he would press his body into mine, forcing me to dance with him.
Oliver pleaded guilty to all counts, even though he disagreed with many of the accusations in order to move on with his life. He will never work as a police officer again. Is charged with conspiracy to commit official misconduct, tampering with public documents, falsifying public records at the Essex County Superior Court in New Jersey. Officer Sean Corder was summoned to Marcus Jeter's residence on June 7th, 2012, following a verbal altercation between him and his girlfriend. When Jeter decided to leave the house and its surroundings on his own volition, Corder trailed him onto the Garden State Parkway and stopped him. Porter pulled over Jeter, but he wouldn't get out of his car, claiming he was afraid for his life. Corder then made an emergency call for assistance. Their car struck Jeter's car from the front when backup came. After smashing the window, Corder pulled Jeter from the car with the assistance of his backup. Following the event, the officers documented in their police reports that Jeter struck one of the backup cops and tried to take Corder's gun. Jeter was accused of evading, resisting arrest, aggravated assault, and trying to disarm a police officer based on those claims. But the prosecutor dropped all of the accusations against Marcus Jeter and launched an inquiry into the police after finding new evidence. Sean Corder addressed the judge in front of the whole Essex County courthouse before he was sentenced.
I love my children more than anything in the world, and I know they need me. I don't want them to have to suffer, switch schools, lose friends, lose the house that they're raised in.
Marcus Jeter, the victim, was present in the courtroom. He also shared his thoughts on Sean Corder and the entire experience.
To say that I resisted. He had a choice. I'm not saying that that messes his character up. I'm not saying that he's not a good guy. I'm just saying that in a situation like this where he has an obligation, a moral obligation to tell the truth, he chose not to.
The former Bloomfield police officer was sentenced to 5 years in state prison by Essex County Superior Court Judge Michael Raven after being found guilty of official misconduct and tampering with records. Welcome to the state of Oklahoma, where Daniel Holtzclaw, a former member of the Oklahoma City Police Department, is facing numerous charges of sexual assault, forced oral sodomy. Holtzclaw was charged with several counts of sexual assault against African American women between December 2013 and June 2014. He deliberately singled out residents of the city's impoverished, predominantly black neighborhood. Investigators said that Holtzclaw methodically selected women with pending parking tickets, warrants, and other criminal records for his victims by conducting background investigations on them. After being placed on paid leave until August 2014, Holtzclaw was fired from the Oklahoma City Police Department. His trial started on November 2nd of that same year.
Mr. Holtzclaw, this jury finds you guilty of the various counts. You will be remanded to the custody of the Oklahoma County Sheriff for formal sentencing set January 21st, 2016 at 10 o'clock a.m.
Holtzclaw was found guilty on 18 of the accusations against him. Despite his plea of not guilty to arrest, the jury recommended that he serve an astounding 263 years in jail. Holtzclaw's attorney asked for a new trial, claiming that evidence was hidden from the defense, but the judge turned down the request right away.
If you want to see more questionable cops and insane arrests, click the next video on screen.